Hey, welcome back. Today's gift guide for your Gear Geek is centered around everyday carry items and a lot of knives for under $250. That's right, we're getting a little bit more pricey today. So let's go shopping for the Gear Geek in your life. All right, Lyle here. Welcome back to the table. BUCKSGEARBOX. Thanks for joining me for this series of videos. I'm pretty excited about this. We're finding some awesome gear for your EDC geek enthusiast for under $250 in this video. If you haven't seen my $50 video or my $100 price point video, those gift guides will be linked right around here somewhere on the screen if you want to check those out. To get on this list, I feel like I have to have either experience with each of these items. Either I've owned one, or I currently own one, or I've borrowed one and reviewed it. And then these are all items I'm recommending that I've had personal time with, or they're genuinely things that I want, and they're on my own personal wish list. So I'm not recommending anything here that I don't either own or want. If you want to shop for any of these items, I will have links in the description below, mostly to River's Edge Cutlery. I can easily recommend them for your everyday carry shopping. They're friends of mine, they're my hometown shop, and I am an affiliate, so if you do shop through my links, my channel will get a little bit of a kickback, and I appreciate that. Thank you. One caveat to this list, when we get to this price point, which is approximately 125 bucks to $250, the floodgates open wide for high quality, often USA made everyday carry folding knives and gear. So I'm going to be dumping kind of a ton of general information on brands in this video, and then I'm going to try to nail it down just based on what I know from these brands, whether I own it or have used it or have reviewed it or I want it. And I'm going to try to get you a good idea for what would be a good gift. At the end of the video, I'll give you my most recommended items on this list. All right, so let's get into it. First, I would say let's look at Spyderco. A flagship Spyderco knife is something that most people in the knife community are definitely interested in. Spyderco is good quality. So we're talking things like the paramilitary series, the Manix 2, the Endura, the Native 5. There's a lot of options in our price range. There's the true military. It's a big knife. There's the Yojimbo and the Yojimbo that are also in this price range. And sometimes when you can find them, there's a Shaman. But there are two that I want to recommend over the others. Those are the Paramilitary 2, the PM2 sometimes it's called, or the Para 3, which we're looking at right here in this camo. And these are the ones I'd probably recommend more than any others. I love my Para 3. It's in Maximet steel, I highly recommend it unless you live near the ocean. Because that's a steel you have to constantly take care of. It's not corrosion resistant. It's super easy for me to recommend a Para 3 and S45 VN. They have this digital camo, they have another colorway of digital camo, and they have straight up black as well for this knife steel, and it's very good stuff. Now the PM2 is the Para 3's big brother. It's older, it's been around a little bit longer, it's definitely more of a full size knife, and really you can't go wrong with either one. These are great everyday carry blades for sure. Honorable mentions, as I mentioned before, the Manix 2 is a really good option. And if you can find one, the Shaman, it's kind of the big boy. It is a beast of a knife. They're just really hard to find, but there just happens to be one in stock right now at River's Edge Cutlery that is the non-serrated S30V version, and it won't be there for very long. So if you're interested in one, check it out. Moving on to Benchmade staples. I mean, the Benchmade flagships are all pretty good at what they set out to do and what they set out to be. The Benchmade Bug Out is a great everyday carry lightweight option, especially for anybody who is backpacking and counting ounces. It's an ultra lightweight knife. Most people don't really care for the scales. The Griptilian and the Mini Griptilian are, in some people's opinions, the best EDC knives ever made. It's all in the name. It's one of the most ergonomically friendly designs ever. Every hand fits them, and they're really easy to use. The Osborne series is a phenomenal and gorgeous everyday carry knife that I don't have yet. And the Mini Adamas, probably my favorite Benchmade that I own. It's an everyday carryable knife, but it's a beast. It's a tank. The blade shape here is different, but it reminds me of the toughness of a Hinderer, which is a very expensive knife, if you know about that one. And it's my most recommended knife from Benchmade overall right now. It's a little pricier than all the other options I mentioned, unless you get the bug out with all the bling and the fancy scales, then they're about the same. I'll have links below. If you're really torn, you can't go wrong with the Griptilian or the Mini Adamas, in my opinion. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Giant Mouse. And honestly, with Giant Mouse, these knives are designed by rock stars in the knife industry. Most of them are made in Italy, and they are fantastic knives. And honestly, I feel like they go up in quality a little bit and design aspects from many of the flagship Benchmades and Spydercos. I like Giant Mouse quite a bit, but I also feel like they're priced reasonably for that quality jump. Anything in the Ace series, big knife, look at the Ace Grand, or the Nazca. Smaller knife, look at the Ace Biblio. Really small, the Ace Riv is awesome, and don't count out their EDC fixed blades, which might appear later on this list. Overall, I think I'd recommend the Ace Grand or the Ace Biblio, depending on what size of knife you want, unless one of these others, the cool design shapes and form factors, are calling your name. You can't go wrong with those. All right, let's talk about Hogue knives. These start at the lower end of our price range, around 130 bucks, which is the one that I have, and then they go up well over the 250 price point for some of the special models. But the Hogue Deca at around 130 is the cheapest way currently that I know of to get into a steel called Magna Cut. That is just a steel that does everything well. And I can't stand the scales on this knife. I really don't like the way they feel because they're not grippy, and they feel a little bit cheap. They're worse than the bug out to me, but I love this blade shape, the super slicey blade, the ergonomics of the handle shape. You can also get into an automatic knife at a good price point with the Hogue Ballista. This drop point auto is 170 bucks, and I really dig this quite a bit. You can look at also the EX A01 series. If you want to go all the way to $250, they even offer an out the front mini HK Incursion that I mentioned. These are all USA made knives and high quality. I still don't like the scales on the base model Deca, but I love what Hogue is doing. And my next Hogue will probably be this Ballista right here. Super cool. All right, moving on. A lesser known USA brand that I highly recommend is Tour Knives. And they will definitely make my next list, which is the above $250 mark. But the Tour Chasm right here is a smaller version of the Merchant 2.0, which I believe I'm showing you right now in B-roll footage. And it is fantastic. If you want a smooth as butter, awesome tolerances experience for your gear geek that reminds me of a Chris Reeve knife, it really does, for less than 200 bucks, the Chasm is the way to go. It feels kind of like a Chris Reeve knife that you can flick, but it's also just buttery smooth, like the CRKs get. The Chasm is a smaller model, as I said before, and would be a great gentleman's carry for EDC geeks, which is why I think this would be a great gift knife, just all around for anybody. All right, let's talk about zero tolerance knives. ZT, made in the US. You might know or you might not know that this is the big brother brand to Kershaw. They're the same company. Many ZTs are over 250 bucks, but there are a few in our price range, including the 0350, the 0357, the 0770, and yeah, I know the names, right? I don't get that. If it were me, I think I'd go with the 0350. I have a very close friend who is a knife geek that says it's his all-time favorite knife, and it is probably the next zero tolerance knife that I'll pick up for sure. Honestly, if you go with any of their bigger, beefier looking models, you really can't go wrong, but there are quite a few people who don't love their skinnier models, the ones like this. They're kind of known for their robustness, and when people think ZT knives, they think of this guy right here, the 0350. So that's probably my recommendation for a ZT if you're interested in one. All right, moving on. ProTech. I have a thing for ProTech knives. River's Edge Cutlery has a good relationship with ProTech knives, and I work 5 minutes from River's Edge Cutlery, so this is a bad thing. I want them all, and I'm not even kidding. They are almost all out the side automatic folding knives, so you must check your local knife laws if you want to order one of these. All right, deep breath. If you want the best small automatic out the side knife, check out the Runt 5. Just get one. They're that good. They're super fun. They're very everyday carryable because of their size, and they just pack a wallop. And very, very cool little knives. If you want the best medium size automatic out the side, check out the SBR or the TR5 or the Emerson. If you want the best full size out the side autos, then look at the TR3. Or if you're really lucky, you might run across a Rockeye, but those things are so rare. A good gentleman's knife is the Newport. Really, these are all great knives. I love ProTech. They're one of my favorite companies. If you can find one, they also have a manual flipper called the Malibu. Not an automatic knife, so you don't have to worry about knife flaws, except I think it's a little bit over a 3-inch blade, so you still have to be careful about that. But it's one of my favorite knives ever. The trick is they're super rare, and when they do appear in the shops, they get bought immediately. So if you ever see one and you want one, grab it. My easiest recommendation at this price point is the Runt 5. There's a couple of different versions. Right now, you can find this sapphire blue Runt 5 with some cool texturing on the scales. Those are extremely rare because they can only make that sapphire blue coating a couple of times a year from what I understand. And then right now, these won't last. I'm surprised they're still in stock. River's Edge Cutlery has an exclusive deal with ProTech where they make this colorway in various knives. And right now, this one, the Runt 5 REC exclusive, is still available as of the day of filming this video. I have one and I love it. Magna Cut steel, awesome colorway, just really, really cool. ProTech rocks. All right, moving on. Let's look at a cool company called Chavez Knife and Tool. And right now, these are in stock at REC. They have a tendency to sell out fast, but if you want an amazing blade shape, a distinct style, look at the pocket clips on here. Skull, very cool. They also come with a plain pocket clip if you don't like the skull. These have incredible action. They have really good materials. You can't go wrong with a Chavez. The action on these is just really, really fun. Very fidgety knives and fun to play with, but also they scream and sharp. The one that I had was an excellent, excellent knife for everyday carry. Very easy to recommend and in stock again at REC right now. The TAK is small, but they're awesome. And River's Edge Cutlery even has a few that they've customized, like this purple one right here with the purple micarta. And I don't think that these will last very long because of that. It's kind of a cool special treatment kind of deal. And I would go for this one if it's still available. If it's not available when you're shopping and you want one, I would go for the full titanium or the micarta. That's just my preference. I don't care for G10 when we're talking about a $250 knife. I just don't. I'd rather have something cooler. I like micarta better than G10. All right, moving on. The Demco AD 20.5, $159. This is the coolest fidget toy that's not a fidget spinner. It's a production model of a $500 plus custom knife made in, well, this one's not made in the USA, but that one is. And I kind of think that everyone who is a knife collector or knife enthusiast or just a person who likes to EDC a really functional blade with a strong lock, this knife is really cool. The shark lock itself is really amazing. This is a user knife for sure. The steel is okay, nothing fancy, but it's also not 500 bucks. It's 159, so it's really easy to recommend this. Get your GEAK, a Demco, and they will have a lot of fun, especially if you know that your everyday carry enthusiast, knife enthusiast, likes the fidget factor in a knife. There's just not one out there that's quite like this. Very, very cool. It's kind of a no-brainer. Hey, next, let's talk about fixed blades, as in like a small, everyday carryable sized fixed blade. In this price range, there are a lot of good options to choose from. I really like the Bradford Guardian series, the Guardian 3 or the newer Guardian 4. Make sure that if you want a cutting knife, you don't buy one with a false edge. They have some of those in stock. This is a great everyday carry sized fixed blade pocket knife. I also really dig the White River M1 Backpacker Pro, and these look really, really good to me for sure. I don't have one, but this looks like an easy recommend. S35V in steel. SE knives are great. This is a larger one here. I have an Azula 2 that I would recommend for an EDC sized fixed blade. Really, there are a lot of options. Giant Mouse makes some great EDC fixed blades. There's a creator called Jacob Creates that makes a knife called the Chickadee that is a tiny EDC fixed blade. Those are just really harder to find. But I think everybody should probably own at least one everyday carry fixed blade if they're a knife collector or a knife enthusiast. I'm planning to get a Bradford Guardian 3 for my next everyday carry fixed blade. Okay, we talked a lot about knives in this list, but there's also some cool EDC gear items in this range that I wouldn't hesitate to recommend that aren't knives, including this one right here, VanQuest backpacks. Very cool stuff. I would look at the VanQuest Addix 18 or Addix 25 for everyday carry, for more of a casual work-related environment or school. But if you want something more tactical, they have a lot of options as well in the Javelin or the Katara, and they look pretty cool. Personally, I want an Addix. That's probably going to be my next backpack. I like backpacks. I don't know why. I have way too many. As far as flashlights go, the Olight Baton 3 is a cool little flashlight with a battery pack that comes with it. Very, very cool stuff. And there's the FocusWorks F2, which look amazing. I don't have any experience with this one, but I would probably go for the F2 if I was shopping in this price range for a really good flashlight. Kind of a third recommendation on this list of everyday gear items that aren't really knives, although these have a knife that comes with them, is a multi-tool. Every everyday carry enthusiast should probably have a multi-tool, and I recommend Leatherman. I have a Leatherman Skeletool that always goes with me. It's always in my backpack wherever I go, and I use it all the time. There's so many times I'm out and about that I just need a set of pliers, or I need one of the tools that's on it, like a screwdriver. Just always comes in handy when you don't have your entire tool kit with you. A multi-tool is a great option. I recommend in this price range the Leatherman Charge Plus. All right, so what are my top 3 favorite things that I would recommend on this list? They're all knives, and I would start with this one. This is the most easily recommendable knife on this list, in my opinion. It's the Spyderco Para 3 in S45V in steel. You can't go wrong. If you want to get them something a little fancier, then if you can find one, the Maximet steel is the one that I have, and I absolutely love it. With the one caveat is that you have to take care of it, and if you live oceanside, it might not be worth it because there'll be a lot more upkeep for you. But you can't go wrong with the S45VN Para 3. That's my #1 recommendation. Odds are they already have one. If that's the case and you think they might want something that's got both beauty and function, then I would get either a Giant Mouse Ace Grand for a large size knife, or this Giant Mouse Ace Biblio for a more medium size everyday carry. They are really priced well for the quality that you're getting. They have things like crown spines that you usually don't see at this price point. They're really refined ergonomics and comfortable to carry, and their blade shapes are incredibly useful. I love Giant Mouse knives. Easily one of my favorite knives. And then a third recommendation that is very situational. If your gear geek expresses the desire to have an automatic knife and it's legal in your area to own and carry one, then I would go with either the ProTech Runt 5, which I'm showing you right here, or for a bigger knife, get the TR5 or 3 for a couple of bigger options that are available right now. Now, these are hard to get, so I don't imagine they'll last through the holiday season. So if you want one, now's the time. To me, ProTech is the king of out-the-side autos, and I can't recommend them enough. All right, in the next video, we'll be... Big truck. That was really loud. All right, in the next video, we're going big. I can't afford it right now, but maybe you can. We're gonna look at some high-end production knives starting at the $250 price point and going way, way, way up. But they're all gonna be production knives. We're not gonna get into customs in that list. That will be coming soon, hopefully by tomorrow, and I'm really excited to share that with you. So stay tuned and subscribe if you want to see when that pops up, and I'll see you there. Thanks.